Our next speaker is Dr. Klaus Riediger from the Austrian Agency for Health and Food Safety. Klaus is an expert in Europe on novel foods. He is a member of the EU Novel Food Working Group. And of course, he is going to talk to us about novel food today. Klaus.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be invited here. The topic is not easy, so I will really go quite quick through it. Novel foods. I'm sorry, is it working? Yeah. First of all, for me, it's really important that you get some more information, and therefore I put in the annexes of this presentation, you are able to take a look after the EFSA conference. You get more information to the topic, novel foods, with a lot of home pages. I think this is of importance. In Austria, we have a strict separation between risk management and risk assessment, of course. The agency is doing the assessment, what I'm working in, and the competent authority is our Ministry of Health. You can see here our buildings where we work on. And what is really of importance, when you deal with novel foods, you need a lot of networking. And it's really nice for my person that we have a lot of experts in our agency dealing not only with foods, also with medicine and agriculture. And I just tell you, the networks in the European Union are very, very important, of very big importance. So the Novel Food Working Group they are the experts of the member states, together also with EFSA, and we're dealing a lot with discussions concerning novel food applications, but also, and I will bring it now on the point, for the definition. So novel foods are not easy to find out if something is novel or not, because we have this regulation from the year 1997, and it's written down that only foods which were on the market before the 15th of May 1997 are considered as not novel. So all those which are, let's say, more modern and which were not on the market in significant amounts are considered as novel foods. And believe me, this is a very, very tough thing and story for also the companies. And we have a lot of different groups of novel foods. The first one is the, let's say, tougher one, when you have really compounds where we have no experience. So those has to be tested more in a stronger and not easy to handle way. Fat replacers, also the tagatose example I will show after. And there is also a group consisting of or isolated from microorganisms, fungi or algae. One example I will show you after is the oil rich in DHA from the microalgae. This category is getting more and more of importance. And the biggest group in work for us is the big group for food and food ingredients consisting of or isolated from plants. A lot of not well-known plants are on the markets, traditional foods, and this is really a topic which is going on more and more, quite strong in our European Union. As an example, I show you chia seed and rapeseed protein. And also the animals are of interest when we have no experience with ingredients, especially isolated from animals, like DHA from krill oil is really also of importance. And our last category, this is the category where we think on technologies, but these technologies, when you use a new technology, you have to take a look if there is something of change. So composition, or also, of course, in case of nutritional value, metabolism, or undesirable substances. And I will bring you one example. It is the UVC-treated milk after. Also, nanotechnology is one example for it, of course. So, the new novel food regulation will come soon, hopefully, and EFSA will get more and more work on it, because in these days, nowadays, the member states do assess novel foods, and in the network, let's say, of the member states and the Commission, and of course also the EFSA, those applications get positive or sometimes negative opinions. But in future, soon, we hope, the main job will be done from EFSA. Also, we need a lot of update technical guidance and tools for preparing and submitting the applications. This will be a quite heavy tool maybe, especially for maybe the next one, notification process for traditional food from third countries with a history of safe food use. This topic is not easy, believe me, because there are so many parameters you have to think on, and I think it is really of importance that EFSA is preparing also a botanical list. The third edition will insert a lot of exotic foods. I heard it from Bernhard Botex dealing with it. I think it will be getting more transparent also for companies in the near future, and also for us to handle a bit more easy for exotic foodstuffs. The nanotechnology issue, I will not go into it because it's too complicated in this time frame. But for the insects, also I can tell you after my presentation we will get a better overview of it. Insects is a really interesting but not easy to handle stuff, and we really discuss a lot in our group how we should treat them. This one slide is quite funny because 100 years ago also we had a novel food application system because of the World War. These surrogates, substitute goods, were also evaluated from colleagues in the past. It was also, there were found things like the maize germ oil or barley coffee, like a coffee substitute. So this novel food issue is not a totally new one, yeah? And there is an overview about authorization procedures. It's really important to point out that not only novel foods are authorized, of course also food additives, enzymes and so on. Sometimes even food additives can get novel foods when you use them not as an additive but as a fiber. So we have some examples also for applications of this. The safety assessment of novel foods is done in two ways nowadays. There is the big application where you need a lot of time as a company and where you need a lot of data to prove that this is safe food. And there is a notification system where we can use that one for some food categories only. And of course, in the future, I think the traditional foods will be something like that also to treat. From industry side, Henk Alpen from DSM pointed out that a lot of phytosterols did it. The applications done in the European Union were about 15% of phytosterols in the year 2013, I guess. And only 10% traditional foods, because the strict evaluation of traditional foods is quite uneasy. You need a lot of data to prove that something is safe. And only some, like noni juice or baobab, in a more easy way, did it. And you can see here also on the side that lipids, a lot of lipids were evaluated under application system, and dietary fibers more and more are getting also of interest. I think this totally goes into the direction we heard today before. Yeah. One example now for the category, the first category, which is, let's say, the more tough one, is the D-tagatose, a carbohydrate which was authorized from, the application was done from Food Standard Agency in UK, so they looked deep into it. And really, this one only needed about 9 months because the member states were quite happy with the data provided. And for the tagatose issue, what is interest? So you can use lactose, which is, let's say, something which you can get quite easily and you have high amounts, and you transform it to something which is of interest, more interest. You can use the tagatose because it's lowering the blood sugar increasing effect compared to the saccharose. But what is really important, the calories are reduced, and it's a prebiotic. So I don't want to make advertisement for it, but I think this novel food, tagatose, was one of the ones where we don't had any big problems in case of the evaluation. The sweetness, and this is really important when you sell something on the market, it should be quite similar to sugar. The sweeteners sometimes are not so tasty, so the tagatose is really sweet as sugar, and it don't induce any calories. The second example is about the DHE-rich algal oil. This is authorized, and what is interesting is that fish oil contains DHE algal oil, DHE in high amounts, quite high amounts, and is used. But the fish oil sometimes contains heavy metals, dioxins, not so easy, also in taste. And therefore, it was maybe a good idea to use microalgae because they contain in reality the DHA, which is of interest, and the fish get the DHA from the microalgae, what you can see here on this slide. And they did a lot of new technology, let's say fermentations, extractions. It was assessed under novel food regime, and those products are getting more and more on the market, and I think they are quite relevant. And even those products are more pure, I would say, than any other fish oils compared. This example is nowadays really something we all have to deal in the European Union in the food control. The chia seed and the chia oil, they were evaluated as novel foods. And okay, I can tell you they are also of interest because of omega fatty 3 acids. And the problems which could arise are that allergies are a topic. So therefore, all these kind of products are under a post-market surveillance nearby. If something would happen, we would get informations from companies selling that. And in my personal view, I think nowadays, until now, there were no big issues for allergies for the chia seeds because they are really consumed in quite high amounts. But what is of concern maybe could be that some people eat those in really high amounts without any water, and this could cause some problems in stomach, of course. So the safety issue, in my personal view, is there. And just tell you, in my personal view, sustainability is a quite important issue on that chia seeds because they grew now in really enormous amounts in South America that our European Union and US get the quite right amount of it. So, novel protein sources, this is of course also of big interest. You can see here that the normal ones like dairy, meat, egg, fish, soy, wheat, legumes, grains, mushrooms, potato, palm, are not of big concern, of course. But we have now new ones. So rapeseed protein, I will show you a slide after. Algae and also duckweed. Duckweed is also something which is of interest in the future. But believe me, we have to take a look deeper inside because proteins are not too easy. Yeah. Especially also for little infants, I would guess. And also I pointed out the insects and the in vitro meat, which are, in vitro meat, there are some scientific experiments until now, but I think it needs some time that something like that is coming on the markets. The rapeseed protein, canola protein, what we found out in the evaluation is that when you use that protein, maybe you could have a problem for people suffering on mustard seed allergy. Therefore, the member states pointed out that they want a labeling regime, that it is labeled, that any foodstuff containing these rapeseed proteins should be labeled also in that way that it's containing rapeseed protein and may cause allergic reactions to consumers who are allergic to mustard. This is of importance because this rapeseed protein could be really a very nice substitute for soy protein in the European Union. Rapeseed is grown in a big amount, and it is used for production of rapeseed oil. And then you use the cake and produce the rapeseed protein. So a lot of products could be then on the market, and of course, it's really important that we take care on this issue of maybe cross allergy reactions. Yeah. The insects I will not point out too much. Only one thing I want to say, that insects, for insects, EFSA made a really very fresh report, and you can find that in that link downstairs. And yeah, it came out last week, so take a look in it. But the insect issue is a very complicated one. For growing up the insects, you see here all the species that can be used over the whole world. So to evaluate all of them would be not easy, I guess, in some cases. But I think there should be clear regulations about the breeding of insects. And this is a very important topic. I just show you on that slide that we have also problems nowadays in the European Union getting more and more exotic animals as food, squirrel meat, which is not novel, but also bushmeat and ballots from Philippines, but some of them are not legal because, of course, you have to think on the balut. This is a young duck which you kill immediately. It's fertilized, and it's a specialty from the Philippines. But there are other regulations how we can handle such products, and I think it's of importance. Also, the testicle whale beer from Iceland is not something you can sell because we have regulations for the whales. Yeah? And the last sample I will show you is the technology. It's the UVC treated milk. I think it's of interest to show you that slide because when you use UVC, ultraviolet light with high energy, you can, of course, also get some compounds of interest for us, risk assessors, which are not very easy to handle. So oxidation products, of course. And especially for this case, the industry wants to reduce the bacteria count, and shelf life is prolonged. And a side effect, vitamin D, is also increased. Yeah, but the problem we have with that product, it's still by EFSA to evaluate, that we have maybe some problems for oxidation products, I guess. Yeah. Here in the end, I can show you my contact, and I hope I could go quite quick through the novel food issue, and I hope you have some information now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have some time for quick questions from the audience. It's over there.
Hi. How does EFSA deal with products that are not accepted? and whether they reach maybe like an illicit market or something. How is that relationship managed?
So you mentioned how EFSA would react if illegal products are on the market, which were not positively accessed. So EFSA is not dealing with that. The member states have to deal with it. So we have to fulfill the controls, 882, of course, the regulation, and also we have a network, I told you, for the novel food within the European Commission. And EFSA is doing risk assessment, but not risk management. So risk management has to be done from the member states and the Commission, yeah, clearly. But if EFSA has some information, they will give us, I'm quite sure. So.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I have one question. I wonder if functional foods also belong to novel foods, and if you have some special regulation for it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, functional foods are very important in the novel food issue. Just think on the phytosterol-enriched foods. Just think on maybe even tagatose is something like a functional food. Just think on maybe lycopene, which is produced in another way. There are a lot of examples of functional food ingredients. Resveratrol, which is nowadays synthetically produced and assessed also under novel food umbrella. So we have a lot of novel food, which are functional food, of course. Yeah. I told you that functional food there is no regulation for functional food in that way. We have many regulations, let's say, in the European Union dealing with dietetic foods, dealing with novel foods for the safety assessment, where you have maybe functional food in it. We have also regulations for infants, foods, and all this kind of stuff. So this is quite complicated, and I think in a time scale, I reduce it down. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. This is a very complicated issue. But I would like to add one simple question. In your novel food review, do you allow for functional claims?
The health claims also are separated. Health claims regulation is separated. It's also evaluated from the same panel in the EFSA, the NDA panel, dealing with also health claims and novel food issues. But it's not within the novel food regime. In my personal view, sometimes it would be a good idea to combine it a bit.
Any other questions? Yes.
Okay, thanks for this interesting presentation. Actually, I have a special interest about the application of insect meal in food and feed, particularly feeding the animal. So, do you think that the insect meal could have some pathogens born in the meal and also could induce some allergic reaction to the consumer?
I think this is quite not easy to answer. Of course, in the European legislation, we have food and feed covered, but I think I cannot answer your question now because of time. Yeah. Yeah, I think we do it in the discussions. It's better. Because I want really the time for the colleagues after. It's too complicated.
Good. In the interest of time, I would like to thank Klaus again.
Thank you.